let's see, we went through the critiques that folks filled it out, and here are a couple of things here. One was training of staff. Okay, it's training of staff and compensation. Fee size. So, a show of hands who wants to, let's do the staff training, like who wants that more than, like compensation, say. What's the thing folks would like the most? Like a show of hands for compensation, say. What to pay loan reps or what not, or what's too much, or how to, okay, so just help me with like which one wins here, okay? Training of staff. Staff training. Okay, it looks like it's about 50-50, So we'll do them both. Yeah. Okay, staff training. Who's got a big staff here? Who really thinks they have that part down well?
I did it for 5 years for 500 loan officers.
Come help? Yeah, because I was terrible at that.
At training? Yeah.
Well, I mean, see, I could sell well.
Right.
Yeah. See, lots and lots and lots of guys, they're a loan rep, they make some bucks, they think they can do it alone, they step out and they start to hire some folks and things just don't go right. Right? Why though?
Well, I think the biggest problem with people who start their own business, and I see it, I'll give you a little of my background, is I started as a loan officer like many of you, then I moved up through the ranks, a large company, I think we had 1,500 loan officers, and then they promoted me to the corporate level and I designed a training program so anyone who started a company came through me.
So what firm was
it? Was Indiana Mortgage Funding, but it's Colorado Mortgage Funding, Florida Mortgage Funding, I mean every single state, they DBA as that. And then after that, I got bored with it and I started consulting. And the biggest failure that I see with new mortgage brokers who want to become a business owner is the whole thing with the E-myth, is that they're working as a broker instead of working on it. And the other thing is they never really take time to put down on paper or systemize their process. So they want to come in here and they do something that I think is unfair to the loan officer, is they got an idea of what the perfect loan officer is, but they never put it down on paper, nor do they communicate it to the broker, and then they hold them accountable to it. So one of the things that you can do, or they try to hold them accountable to a standard that's never agreed upon between the two of them. So one of the best things that you can do is sit down with a pad of paper, or even better, if you don't like to write like I don't, record it all and have it transcribed, and then refine it. One, it'll really increase your profits because you'll clarify your system, your unique system. If you've been in the business for a year or two, you have a unique system, and it'll help you refine it, and you'll get better. But two, it's a lot easier to teach when someone has a manual instead of me just saying, hey, listen here. Do you know what I mean? So training, I think the key is put it down on paper, and then.
Do you find most entrepreneurial guys, though, don't really, they really don't know what they do. They just wing it and do it, and they're good at it, and that's their skills?
I think that the thing about this industry is it attracts an A-type personality, any sales. And so you get that person really isn't the best organized. I don't think an A-type personality is really the best person to man the day-to-day operations of a mortgage company.
Is that bad though?
I don't think it's bad at all, by the way, but I think you should hire somebody. Yeah, you should hire somebody to do your weakness. But that's the way I what was what's his name, Carnegie always talked about, surround yourself with the most brilliant people, and most people never do that because they're afraid that, oh well, he'll take my job or whatever. Well, Carnegie was always brilliant, and he said, well, in the end they work for me, even though they are a lot more brilliant. So always hire someone that's more brilliant in your weaker areas, I think. Yeah.
Don't be threatened, It's amazing how many people will line up to help make your dream come true, and you want them smarter than you.
Right.
And you don't want them saying yes, 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 yes. You want them to challenge you, but also do it with respect and pride and this and that.
Right. It's there's a low barrier to entry in the mortgage business, and people are always afraid, well, if I give them everything, they're just going to go open their own. I think that's a bad way to look at running your business, because you're holding back on growing your business by not fully training the individuals and teaching them how to grow. And the fact of the matter is most people don't have the courage to open their own business. So you're just holding back on your own by not giving to everybody. Does that kind of make sense, the flow that I'm going with here?
Do you think you can do both those? Structure it such that it's, to start with, there's something structured so they don't just learn from you and split and leave.
Yeah, I think
structure and compensation, those things.
Definitely. If you ever have an opportunity to get a book, it's called The Richer Way. It's by Julian Richer, who is a brilliant, he is the most profitable per square foot retailer in the world, and he's out of England. And he just talks about his job as an entrepreneur is really to come up with creative ways to make it so that they don't want to leave. Create an environment so they don't want to leave. Retention. And he does it in a lot of creative ways. Yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing that I can give someone who's opening their own mortgage company and they want to train people is get a system. A good plan today is better than the best plan tomorrow. Even if you have to buy one and sit down there and train it to them, at least you got it down and you can hold them accountable to something that you both agree upon. I mean, I see it so many times, and I didn't do a lot of consulting. I probably 20 firms that I consulted or small shops, and the biggest fault was they never had anything written down, not a mission statement, not a system, not a plan, not anything. And so they're always fumbling around and trying to hold people accountable for something they never told them they were responsible for. So I think that's the key in training is put it down, refine your ideas, and then adjust and modify.
Who's done exactly what he's saying we all do? Yeah. I mean, who is crucial for you hire them and you just expect them to be like you?
Yeah, exactly.
To think like you, to work like you, and you sell them into the job so hard when you really shouldn't, right?
Right. I think. Well, and that's in the hiring process. They're too busy selling them on come on in. Then when they get in there, it's just okay. Everything stops because you got to go run the business. Do you know what I mean? So I mean, if training is just getting it down and then going with it and modifying it, but you got to get it down.
We got to have a mic, or the people who listen to these tapes, it'll just make them hate me. I mean, I hate it when people hate me and I don't know it. Come up and slap you. That's for that tape 3 years back where the answer was great, but we don't know what the question was. There you go.
I'm in an executive suite, okay? So it's offices, and you have a receptionist, so it's all 200 square feet. There's probably 50 offices, and there's probably about 20 mortgage brokers.
Right.
Or some kind of lender, okay? Hard equity, whatever.
So you want the master key from them?
Exactly.
So you can go in and
no, I want to be.
apps?
I want to be.
No.
I want to be their consultant.
Right.
Okay, because I've learned something today, in this weekend, okay, that I can pass on to my peers.
Right.
But I'm not going to do it for nothing.
Right.
So how did you come up with the rate in regards to?
We're getting off track a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I can answer that really fast if you'd like, or not. I mean, it's
I'd prefer that would be afterwards because we have a short time frame. Hiring a staff. Okay, let's say you're alone and off, or you're a Brad here, okay? And Brad, you mentioned that you're interested possibly in, maybe hiring a new assistant. Was that you who said that? Do you know exactly what you want?
Something better than what I have now.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, that comes up a lot, but if I may interrupt, that comes up a lot.
Just want him to, yeah, Mike.
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
That comes up a lot where people, that's with everything in life. They're like, oh, I know I don't like the way it is. Well, most people never sat around, and I mean, you got to get down exactly what, I mean, it's all about goals, come back to goals. What it is you want, what it is you're dissatisfied, and then go out there. And when hiring somebody, you can look for the qualities. Qualities can be developed, but you got to know what you want this individual to accomplish, because I see so many times low barrier entry. I mean, hairstylists have more hours of required training by most states than brokers do. So they'll go out there, they'll hire anybody off the street, throw them in there, and say, well, you know, I want better than what I have now. Is that fair? I don't think so, but it happens more than most people would like to admit.
So.
Do I know what I'm looking for?
Yeah.
Hello? Okay.
Just something better than what you got.
Yeah, something better than what I have. I mean, the mistake I've made
can
is
relate to that.
I've hired a lot of, I mean, I've probably had 4 different assistants in the last 2 years. And the mistake I think I've made is I've hired people that are fresh out of college, don't know what they want to do with their lives, and a lot of these are young guys, and they don't have the sales skills or the people skills for me to put them on the phone with my customers and have them follow up on conditions without being like intimidating or mean and demanding. I mean, I just think somebody has to have like a sweetness to them to get stuff sometimes.
Try a woman.
I'm trying to recruit one right now.
She won't let him hire one.
Yeah, right.
It's
my
called damage control, retention. She's got her retention plan.
My wife didn't see the girl I interviewed last week, thank God. So.
Okay, we'll spend 10 minutes on what to do with the assistant afterwards. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's so difficult to follow somebody who has no sense of who they are. And when in a leadership role, you've really got to define for yourself, who are you, what are you, and put that down. So one, what you really need to do is establish what you have right now so you can identify what you're dissatisfied with. And once you do that, it's pretty clear. Putting things down on paper or working thoughts out is the best way to refine and improve upon them. So put down what you have right now and identify what you don't want, and then you can come up with the ideal candidate in your head. Well, the ideal candidate would satisfy this, 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 and this, and then go find the person. You know what I mean?
But do you think someone who's really type A really is qualified to hire that person? Lots of times not, because they'll hire someone they like, which isn't necessarily what they need, right?
Well, I think that I think that if you put it down on paper, you're right. If you have who you want down on paper, you can put the person in there, at least ask the person if this is something that they'd like or whatever, and it gives you it gives them a better path of achievement. I think people in the most part want to do well. It's just that it's the failure of many companies and many employers that they never really give them a bar of what success is. Is that?
Oh, that just makes.
Does that make sense?
It painfully makes sense.
And that's why even if you are a type A personality, and type A, you can do it, but it's just a trick on getting it so it's enjoyable. And the way I found it is audio, is that it? Audible or whatever? Audio. And it's like I can't read, but I love information. I mean, I can read, I just don't do it. So all audio types, all kind of, and it's really absorbable. But you can do that also. I mean, I've had assistants before, and one of the primary skills that they have to have is transcription, because everything I do is in audio, and I need it down on paper so that I can transfer it to other people. So type A personalities can do it. They just need a media that can keep up with their mind, and I think audio is one way to do it.
Reed.
Love it.
Right here. Regarding the assistants, I think you first of all, you need to pay people well if you want good people, number one. But number two, I think you have to incentivize all your employees in your company. I think a lot of us are motivated to become mortgage brokers or LOs because of the nice income that we can make from it.
Right.
And, you know, I don't think assistants or any other kind of person that works in a company is any different.
Right.
And I think if they can see that, you know, if they're helping to process a loan, they get a nice commission out of processing the loan. Like I pay my assistant $250 to, you know, a base plus $250 to get loans through. Right. And all she's doing is helping outside loan reps. And so I think people need to be incentivized
I think
through bonuses and other things. Plus, give them training. I try to give them a bigger picture. I let them work out the details, but I give them a bigger picture of what we're here for. You know, to serve the customer, make the customer happy, get the customer what they want and need, and then we'll get what we need.
I agree with you 100%. The only thing I have about that is I agree that the pay has to be in line with the standards. I like bonuses, but my theory on bonuses is not one big bonus. It's everybody wins. So I can have small ones, and I refuse to bribe my people to do the job that they should. And when it comes to money, you're right. It has to be there. It has to be at par, and you should definitely bonus performance.
Where'd you come from, man? Yay.
But
you know, I mean, he's way on track. This is good stuff.
When you do you set up the environment, it's like, well, how do you motivate people? Well, it's easy to motivate somebody that has never made any money, but it's completely different once they've got 10 grand in the bank, because it's difficult to get them off the couch because they reach their comfort level, whatever it is for the individual.
The mortgage industry, especially.
Exactly, and I think that's where it comes back to creating a winning environment. Creating an environment, it's so, if people don't really care if they come to work or not, I mean, if you've got the kind of office where they dread coming into work on Monday, good luck, because as soon as they get that check, they're not coming into work on Monday. So it's creating an environment of achievement, or someplace that, you know, it's more of a threat not to be able to come to work than it is to not come to work. You know what I mean? How do you do that? You make it in a fun environment. It's like motivation. Can we motivate people? I don't think that you can really motivate anybody. That has to come from within, but we can provide an environment that is motivational. Does that make sense? How do you do that? You come to seminars like this. You get all the information. You create a success library. You only allow winners on your team. What does that mean? It means that you have a minimum standard. So many times in the mortgage industry, you can't get fired. What job do you know that if you don't perform, you can keep the job? Well, mortgage industry is definitely one. And a commitment that you have to make to your loan officers is, I got a minimum, and it's not me that's, you know, it's you. And if you can't get that minimum, I gotta let you go, because it'll kill the team.
Harvard, right?
Harvard?
B school, I mean,
Yeah.
post-grad, right? I mean, they only take the
yeah.
best of the best of the best. John, that guy, you know, day one, spoke. John said 10% there's a curve. 10%, the worst 10% are out every year.
Yep.
And I mean, it could be all of them have a, you know, like 3,999, but if you have a 3,998 and you're in that 10%, you're out. You know? It creates a self-esteem, pride, keeps, you know, the bar up high. You know?
I think that if you were committed, if you want to make the best commitment that you can to your sales staff, is to commit to surround them by winners. And that's not an easy thing to do from an owner, because you got to get rid of the people who don't want to do that. And turnover is expensive. But you know what? If you do have a standard, you're right. It creates the esteem, it creates the prestige, it creates the environment, and
Pride.
you also. And it's a commitment that you have to give to your loan officer. But I've been an owner. You know, it's difficult to fire people that you like, even if they're not keeping up to the minimum. But I think it's a commitment that you have to give so that you can provide excellent service to your customer and to your loan officers.
I got a question. I forgot your name. I'm sorry.
Chris.
Chris. I'm Kevin
Chris
Lane.
Crippen, by the way. I don't.
Hi, I'm Kevin Lane from Virginia Beach. Have you ever been to Virginia Beach?
No.
Well, you're hired. You can come.
Okay.
You can come. Now, would you suggest that maybe I hire a mortgage consultant? I own a firm, and I don't have any kind of background. It was basically I didn't like the way my boss was running his company, and he sold it. Well, I did like it, but he sold it. The new guy, I just decided that I could open my own company, and I thought because I was a top producer for my company, that I could go run a mortgage company. And lo and behold, it's a little different than what I thought. Should I hire a mortgage consultant to come in and spend the time for my mortgage company instead of calling one of these consultants over the phone and then them giving me a bunch of tasks to do? Does that make sense? So they can just specialize on my company.
You're talking about a business consultant to work on your business, or a mortgage loan officers with
Or
experience,
sales manager, or operations manager, or what?
Operations manager. Well, I'm asking as far as just hiring a mortgage consultant to come in and tell me what he thinks I need to do to, make my business more profitable.
I think you know.
Yeah.
Typically, you know what you need.
Right. Well, and I think that goes back to the failure of the industry too, is you do, each and every one of you have within what it takes to go wherever you want. Problem is, most people just kind of all wing it. You know what I mean? It's like that example that Brian had given about a doctor, hey, come in there, you got a cough here, take these pills, no books anywhere. You're like, this guy's a whack, right? The same thing with everyone else. We need to put it down. I'm the worst type A personality, so it took me quite a bit of time to get it all down. But once I did, I realized that what I thought I wanted was completely different than what I had put down, and it really changed me as a person and where I wanted to go.
Painful too, wasn't it? Write that down?
Well, I did it on audio, so it was kind of easy, but it was painful.
For the person who had to transcribe it, I bet it was painful.
That's why I pay him, though. Yeah. Anyways, to answer, would I hire a business consultant? I think that put it down on paper. And the second thing is, I think that you got the right ideas. Come into areas like this, like Reed had said, is surround yourself by those who you want to be, and soon you shall become. I think that's biblical or something like that. But anyways, it really, and then you can get the advice here. And if you're going to hire a consultant, and I recommend them, but make sure that you check the guy out. How do you check him out? Go to the seminars. Go talk to these people. I'm sure that most of the people that were speaking up here would be happy to come and consult with you for a price. Now, what price do you want to pay is completely different.
And what skill set?
Exactly.
Let's see, I was like growing real fast. We had lots of folks, and we actually grew from like 12 folks to 180 with like 80 temps in 1 year. Wow. And it was just on sheer excitement and sales, and bring them in, put them on phones that day. If they could make some calls and get some people to say, yes, I'd like to save some money, and here's a little information, then we'd train them a little bit.
Right.
Not the 2 weeks of training and then put them on the phone and they are scared to death to call, and you fire them 3 weeks later after they stink up the place, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's I reached this point where I was breaking in lots of parts, people didn't really know what they were supposed to do. It just wasn't See, you reach a point where, what is that, Maslow's law of hierarchy or something that you'll,
Maslow's,
how's that go? You build it to the level of your incompetency or whatever.
No, Maslow. I was thinking about Maslow's. I'm not sure.
Somebody's got to know that.
The Peter principle.
Something's law of higher whatever.
Maslow's law of hierarchy, where
What's that?
Maslow's law of hierarchy is where you satisfy your needs, like food and shelter needs, and then you can keep going back up to. But the Peter
like
principle
you
is
need those
people
pretty wheels
yeah.
on the Porsche, the bigger ones.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, the Peter principle is where people are promoted into a level of incompetence or ineffectiveness. Incompetence.
Because see, you grow and grow and grow, and then soon I thought, okay, I need to hire the operations guy. Okay.
Yeah.
Kevin, this part. I had like the comptroller, the office manager, this was my right-hand man as far as, making sure the office equipment worked and the bills were paid and payroll was done right and taxes. Well, he left, he was like my dad, and it was like, I'm going to retire. You can't yet. So it's okay. Let me take the next step. So it was, talk to my CPA, talk to some entrepreneurial guys at the club, and the diff was, I thought, okay, I need to hire somebody at the level way up. So, I did the ex-Fortune 500 chief operating officer type. He came in his first week. He never even talked to me. He didn't ask me what to do. After about the 5th day, I called him in. He came in my office. He stood there. And I said, sit down. He went, I normally have a scheduled meeting and once a week, and I have my pad. I said, oh, okay, makes sense, you know, you know. Second day, I walked by the mailbox slips, you know, and I'm like trying to find someone's stuff, and you know, people coming and going, they weren't in order. So I see some, you know, some little girl walking by who worked somewhere. I said, hey, can you like get these names right? 20 minutes later in my box, there's a little note. As you're casually getting your second cup of coffee in the morning, Reed, would you mind not telling people who don't report to you what to do? I'm going like, huh. There may be a better way. I'm going, I don't know if I'm going to like this guy. You know? The bottom line is, I mean, I didn't like him, and he didn't like me, but we grew. I would have never, I mean, I wouldn't have hired him, but that's what I needed.
Right.
The entrepreneurial age, they hire people like themselves, which there isn't a bunch of room for someone like you in lots of organizations, you know.
That's the problem with a lot of shops also, is they are not structured. A lot of the mortgage business, what I've seen, especially the smaller brokerage shops, is it attracts the people who do not like corporate America. However, corporate America is very successful because it's structured and rigid, and it's not bad to get someone from that environment to come help set up your environment. Does that make sense? Corporate America is big business because it works, you know? Even though we may be running from it, some structured, organized ways to set up an office are not bad. And most mortgage shops, including my own that I go to, are just a miserable mess, like my desk.
Who was there? Yeah.
Yeah. I have a question for you, and this is, I almost passed the mic and not ask you, but see if anybody else here has this question. When I started off in the business, and now I run very small operation and focus more on my own origination, and I've just decided that's works for me. I had a lot of loan officers, and I hear you talking about a lot of nice, warm, fuzzy Maslow and Stephen Covey and a lot of these cliches that we hear out there. And one of the things that I was thinking is you were saying hire winners, set this standard. And I was thinking, could you define winner for me? Is this based on is this some kind of social value? Is this economic level? Is this because the reality is that the loan officer or whatever label you want to put on that, the typical person that's going to be originating loans for you, we're in sales, okay? And there's a lot of things that come with that. And so I was interested in hearing what a winner was.
That is a great question. The definition of winner comes from you, the entrepreneur. Who's a winner in your environment? Winner for me is completely different from you. Now, yeah, winner, I think in a warm, fuzzy kind of way is a lot more than making money, but that's not what business is there for. It's there to make money. So you define what a winner is. If I'm saying that a $15,000 3-month fee average is, anyone above that is a winner. Now, that is my level right there. So many times we say, well, you got to produce $15,000, and we let them slide at 13, then we let them slide at 12. Well, I've defined my winner at 15. It's you as the entrepreneur who defines the winner.
So you're putting a dollar amount on it. Basically, I'm going to have guys in my office that can do $15,000 a month. You know, I don't care what anything outside of that.
No, well, no, that's one aspect. I believe that you have that. You definitely, it's business, so I got to have a number, a financial number assigned to it. However, there are also steps that we do that don't directly equate to bottom line dollars, like, you know, submittals. You know, I have a requirement for 3 submittals per week, whether or not I give you the lead. Every single lead that I give you, you're going to take an application on 50% of it. So I've got many different steps. Show up to my meetings. Standards,
right.
Rules, whatever you wanted to call them. But, you know, and it's kind of a give and take. My bottom line on whether or not I'll take somebody, I do have a little give on the financial. If you're at $12,000, but one of the things is I used to manage a really large office. I think I had 35 brokers at one time. So one of the things I tell people is, I got a $15,000 3-month average. If you're not there, I don't have time for you. However, I do make an exception if you bring me everything so that I can see what you're doing. But if you're sitting in the back at $12,000 and looking for a little, and never come to me or never get in my sphere or whatever, so I know what's going on, I don't have time for you. So, yes.
The ground has to be fertile.
So on the flip side of that, you got a guy doing $50,000 a month, but Let's say he's fighting with the people in your office. The guy drinks like a fish, and what I'm being a little silly with my example, but so on the top side of that
superstar,
too,
the prima donna?
I'm just trying to figure out how much these standards are a bit idealistic, and say these guys are salespeople, give them the tools and the support, and let them rock, and don't let them upset your environment. I guess
That's a definition that you have to define. When I worked for somebody else, I had no choice. If they were $50,000, they wanted to come in drunk and sleep with my girlfriend. Hey, I got to keep them because I'm not the one. Right. But it's really up to me. And no, it's not all about money. I'm sorry. Teamwork is a requirement in my environment, and I can't take the stress anymore. I did that for so many years. I got, rocking the boat or whatever, you're going to do fine. You're just not going to do fine with me. It's time to move on. And
it's disruptive.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't have time for that anymore in my life. It's too disruptive to the rest of my life.
I appreciate the information. I thought I'd put out there food for thought, because that is difficult to quantify what a winner is.
Well,
and so
yeah, it's definite, but that comes exactly back to what I've begun the thought or the talk with is you got to write it down, put it down, because you're right. It is. My definition of a winner is completely different from yours, which I guarantee is completely different from your loan officers. People want to succeed, but they don't know where the bar of success is, and it's up to the individual or the entrepreneur to define it. And the best way to define it is put it down, I think.
And it can still be tweaked and adjusted. Yeah. It's just, see, I used to change things a lot, or I'd be up all night with my legal pad, man. I hired Wilson Herald, the ex-publisher of Inc., and, created Product 409, famous entrepreneur. Wrote For Success every month. I just read his books and I went, whoa, I flew down, I saw him, paid him outrageous amounts, and Wilson basically taught me that you have to go find people that manage well, and don't do what you think, do what works.
Right. Well, that's the key to success, is do what works and less of what doesn't. But unfortunately, we try to do a little of both or whatever.
Maturity. You got to mature there.
Right. And you're talking about changing the rules all the time. I used to do that, and it's so frustrating. Do you remember when we were kids or whatever, we played football, and, the touchdown was at the street light until you got there, and then they said, that's not what we agreed on. Well, you know how frustrating that was. Think about how that is with loan officers. I said a $15,000 3-month average, but, so I think it's fair to everybody that we make the standards and we kind of stick with them.
Who was next, or was it? Okay.
Can you, in a smaller office environment, I've only got 8 loan officers, and I really need to step back. I am at the point now, I've been doing it for owning these companies for 8 years, and I'm been kind of dragged down into the micromanage, same issues month after month, fight, the battle, it'll never end. And I really, really need to step back. Can you effectively hire a sales manager without the rest of the team? They're always going to be looking at me anyway.
They might be happier without you.
They probably would be.
I'd come in with that pad.
Yeah.
Wilson told me, okay, stay up all night, write the stuff, and then don't bring it into work, rip it up. Don't get so mad and institute change. Realize that you have to respect them too and give them some slack, but they need to know what you expect. Not that I can do it, because I drive my staff nuts,
I actually, the Julian Ritchie talked about that quite a bit or whatever. So you're not really fair to your loan officers if you're completely hovering over them, because they can never really grow to the level that they can if you're constantly there doing everything for them. He said, do you want to make more money and work less? He said, well, yeah. So how do you do that? He goes, well, why don't you take a week off, all right? And then, see what happens. So he goes, I can't take a week off. Are you kidding me? If I take a week off, this place will fall apart. Well, so he finally, with a little convincing, took a week off. Came back, the place didn't fall apart. It did run a little bit less or whatever. And he goes, well, that kind of worked out without a hiccup. So he went another 6 months or whatever. And he came back a little refreshed because he wasn't there all the time. He worked a little harder. Took a little bit, he took another week off 6 months later. And he comes back, everything was still running about the same. He comes back to his assistant manager or whatever, and he's like, well, doesn't this place fall apart? Don't you miss me when I'm gone? He's like, well, no, actually, everybody kind of loves it. Do you know what I mean? You're not here. You're not breathing down our necks. We can get a few things done. It kind of sets the pace a little bit. And if you ever really want to sell a company or get to that level, if you are the company, you're never going to sell it. But if that company doesn't require you to be there to run it day to day, you'll get a higher price, I think, in the end.
It's called the benevolent dictator. That's when you run every part and you're down everyone's throat and you know how everything works, and you know where, you're the supervisor of everything. And then stage 3 is the disassociated director.
Yep, that's it.
And that stage is just worse than root canals and bleeding ulcers. And I mean, that was the most painful stage, which most companies can't break through. The typical brokerage firm is 5.5 folks.
Wow.
There's about 41,000 shops that size, average. Some may have 8, some may have 3. It's because you can't get beyond stage 2, going to stage 3, where you can hire professional managers and then get out of their way.
Right.
Even though they're telling you stuff like, don't talk to my folks. I mean, this guy I hired, he started, okay, if Reed's not going to obey me, then I'll fire people below him to punish him. Ooh. So I talked to Wilson. I mean, I actually, I said, Wilson, I'm going to kill him. I hate him. I hate him. Well, are you making money? Is it working? Yeah. But I hate him. Well, Reed, he hates you too,
Well, what they say, anything worth having is not easily obtained. And would you do it again? And was it profitable?
It was profitable, and it was the most painful stage of 20 years while being self-employed my whole life, except for maybe 8 months when I worked a job one time. But I'm trying to think. See, it was people I had 7, 8, 9, 10 years who got promoted just because they had been there longer.
Right.
The old classic mistake of, okay, there's 5 folks, we are going to grow fast, you're my pal, so you're in charge of this, which you have no competency for, so you outstrip them, and then what do? You fire them? No, you demote them. I mean, it's classic, you heard them.
Well, really fast on the sales manager, it's good to, you can bring someone else. What I like to do, or what I did before, is grow my own and train them. Now, the only pitfall with that is the classic sales manager. You promote the highest performing salesperson, and they make lousy managers. Well, it's not necessarily numbers that equates to success as a manager. Do you know what I mean? Has to have someone who has somewhat sense of their own person, and can also perform the manual skills of the job. Does that make sense? And is a quality loan officer. Doesn't that necessarily have to be the top. But I always like growing them because, I train them from the beginning. They know my philosophy, and I can carry them out, or I can trust them to carry out my mission. Does that make sense?
I'm just sitting here as a young broker. I just got my broker's license 6 months ago. Work out of my home in my underwear if I want to. Why would I want to open a shop? And I'm not just asking that frivolously, but is there a reason that I can't think of why I would open a shop?
You should.
Yeah.
Be happy.
Yeah.
Be happy.
Now I can answer why I did. I mean, it's one, the income level is, how much you make now. You can multiply it by 10, and it's more joy. I think one of the biggest joys, exactly, I forgot who said it, but teaching people or seeing someone, stepping back and seeing what you really brought to that individual's life. I don't like experienced brokers because I don't want to fight. Don't tell me what you can't do. all right, because I know. So I like to hire people with no experience, bring them in and train them, and then you look back and just the joy and satisfaction I see around at the Christmas party or whatever. You know, he was waiting tables when I found him. Now he's making $100,000. That's a joy that is it's hard to describe, and the money's not bad either. So, but I think that's why is a good reason to open one.
If a true entrepreneur can't help it, you're just going to do it. You can't help it, you know. It's just going to happen until you reach a point where you're sick and tired of stubbing your toe again and again and again and again and again every year, and you're not getting it through your thick head. You know, you only grow by solving new problems. You come into problems, you come up with solutions, and you don't just keep repeating them again and again. That's when you stall, which, I mean, you either stall and you accept where you are, be happy, or you figure out a way to get around that. And if, I mean, there you can work and be very successful with no staff, doing it your way from home, in your underwear, any way you want.
Yep.
The key is to be happy, you know?
Yeah.
And staff, when you're screwing up, I reached a point where I started, before I hired a person, all I could think of was, okay, what's it going to feel like when they hate me at some point, you know? Because I'm going to push them, I'm going to push them, I'm going to push them. They won't really know what their job is. They'll make more money than they've ever made, and I'll teach them to compete, and they'll hate me because I've done it 70 times.
Right. That's true too. Yeah.
Yeah, so what am I going to do? Got to change something.
No, I just wanted to say everything that Chris has said so far is totally 100% accurate. I did it the old way. Didn't work. The place is a mess. Worth the time, and it's just like anything here. You know, nothing works unless you actually implement it. It's great information, and you know, you take the time to give us the information to share it with everybody. Definitely worth. Even if you only have one loan officer, put everything in writing. There's no gray areas. You know, if every single step is in writing, and I mean every single step, meaning that, you know, if there's no mortgage history on the credit report, the processor has to order a verification of mortgage. Just every single nook and cranny of the loan. There's no gray area. And, you know, when a loan officer comes in, everybody's responsible, and everybody knows what their responsibilities are. So there's accountability, and anytime there's accountability, things run a lot smoother. And you know, that's the. You know, I just say I agree with you. It's totally worth the time.
Any questions for me, or I'm up here by myself now? Yes.
You're running it now. But now that guy had walked out. I was just going to say, I've been in the business 18 years. I have done every part of this business. I have been a basement broker making calls in my underwear like he has done. I have owned companies where we've done millions of dollars a year in fees. It all comes down to this business, your quality of life. I work 30 hours a week now. I make $300,000 a year just because I've got the doctor mentality versus out begging. But you know, this business is not about the money. I mean, I know guys like Brad, and I've been a Brad almost, and not made that much in 1 year, but, you know, I don't want to work 90 hours, but he's young and, you know, doesn't have kids, and make it while you can. But, you know, it comes down to your quality of life, which is why I really like Mr. Sachs's information over here. You know, you want to do as much business with less time and make more money. That's what it's all about. So, you know, running a big company, you know, I've always found that I'm happier by myself pretty much. So, and then loan officers that want to think about owning your own company. I overheard Brad out there a little bit. You know, he made $1 million. Why in the world would he want to run his own company now? So he's working 70 hours now so he can work 100 and deal with everybody else's BS. You can make as much money if you're with the right company, with the right support and the right compensation as the owner can, if not more, without half of the stress, aggravation, or risk. So, you know, loan officers, if you own your own shop, what you're doing a lot of times is training your own competition. You're going to train a guy, teach him everything you know, and he's going to think he's good or better than you eventually and want to open his own shop right down the street, your competition. So if you're a loan officer and doing well and making money, hone your skills, make your money on your own. You don't need to go and own a company. Plus, a lot of people think the grass is greener on the other side of the fence. You know, I'm a loan officer for this company, but I know this guy, he's making more money as a loan officer down the street. I'm going to run down the street. You know, the grass is greener on the other side of the fence until you step in the pile of crap once you get over the fence. People don't realize that. So that's just kind of, you know, couple comments on owning your own shop or
One little
you know.
hint here about compensation, few little tips there. Let's suppose you hire a guy and the most he's made is like $3K a month. And do you think he needs to go like up to 20,000 like in month 3? Do you think that helps him a lot? Yeah.
If a guy wants to make money, the compensation is not going to generally make somebody more money. It's how much more work or productivity they're going to do that's going to make them more money. I've had every
Yep.
compensation imaginable. I've based it on loans one time. I've changed on the fly. You know, I had top producer that says, you know, if I do 10 loans, I want 50%, you know, or 40% commission. And those kind of guys, if you base it on a per loan as a broker, as an owner, you're going to get the guy that's going to do $1,000 loan in fees just to get to the higher level. So he's not accomplishing any more income.
Sandbagging, I mean,
Exactly, so
I
you're
mean,
going to
yeah,
do that,
yeah.
you know. Or you can do the per fees. If you do, if anything, I think the per fees, that gives them more stress to sell more loans as far as higher fees per loan to get up to that higher level. So,
Do you know what the most effective thing I've seen for retaining him, for consistency, fee size? Because, I mean, I feel a team, if it's a team, you have to maintain fee standards, if it's points or, you know, or front end, back end, whatever your types of rules are. If it's units, if it's also deals given, like leads, for leads, or let them buy leads, and and I mean, I've gone through every compensation structure imaginable, and what I've seen work really best is to give them money, but delay lots of it, you know, and always owe them money. If they leave, they get it, but they have to meet standards of, you leave correctly, you don't steal your pipeline, you don't take people from my shop and bring them to your new shop. And it's, I mean, that has just always delaying some. They, like, I'm trying to think how to describe it. Let's suppose they have to not, 12 loans 1 month, next month none, next month 12, next month none. You have to compensate based on consistency, fee size, team player, lead conversion, and they really don't need a bunch of money at once, because then that can like pollute them, spoil them. Next month they make zero because they're suddenly free because they think they are superstars now, because you gave them lots of leads. I mean, does that make sense?
and give them an achievable goal. If a guy wants to go from one level to the next, say if you produce $30,000 a month in fees, 3 months straight, then you get promoted to that next level. You can't just give it out. It's got to be fair and in writing for everybody.
You get so much, but you have to repeat it. You have to consistently, it's not month to month, quarter to quarter. One time I was trying to hire this car salesman. This guy was sharp. I mean, he was sharp. He waited 5 months because he had a bonus coming after Christmas from his car place. I mean, it was like $5,000. I mean, God, dude, you're giving up $10,000 a month. I'm not giving up that $5,000, $4,000, Yeah.
I earned it,
Yeah, I heard it. So he waited and waited and waited. The second Christmas came, started the year, got his bonus and left.
The other thing for owners in this room is you're talking about a winner or how do you hire the right people. You got to understand I'll call it the masters of the universe. Up is up and down is down. The 80-20 rule in sales is always going to apply. I guarantee it. You are going to have 80% of your business is going to come from 20% of that sales force. I don't care how sharp of people you hire, I don't care what degree they have, it's in that same setup in every shop in America. So you're going to have your guys that do 3-4 loans a month, you're going to have your guys that do 30 loans a month. I know that numbers comes out to your shop, and you got a big company where you work at. It's the 80-20 in his place, my place, and everywhere else. So as owners of company, you're just going to sort through the numbers to find the ones, hopefully, that can be the 80s, but you got to love up on the 20s too if they're, making you money, and that's how it is, 80-20 rule in sales.
You know what I found the biggest mistake with that 80-20 rule really fast is that managers distribute their time unequally across that. Is the common sense says, well, I spend all my time with the bottom producers. It's not really the best way that I've found to do it is distributed equal. Most of your time should really be spent with your medium producers, and then spend a little bit with your top producers and a little bit with the bottom producers as well. But the majority should be with the middle.
With the norm. You
the
can
norm.
duplicate that.
Yeah, and you can have the most effectiveness on that group. And the bottom, they probably don't need to be there anyways. But you don't get rid of them.
The wisdom system there. I had this gal who was such a good producer, loyal, everything. She walked up to me one time and she said, I'm so sick and tired of you giving your time to the losers. Right. And I'm like going, well, what do you need? Just some loving, Right. I mean, love up on us, Yeah, hugs. No, I mean, in like a good way, of course. Okay. Yeah. Okay. We have about 3 minutes or 5, and then we are going to wrap it up. Question?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's say you're trying to create a new marketing strategy, what kind of thought process would you go through in creating a job description? Is there a specific way of looking at that so that you're implementing the marketing strategy using an assistant profitably?
Be realistic. You look up here and you go, okay, to get the job done, this has to be done, this. What am I going to really do? What do I think I will do, but I really know be mature and know what you will do, what you won't do, what you're good at, and what you're not. And write it out.
Yeah.
Or tape it out, sit in the car driving and just, I used to play tapes and I used to hold the tape. I'd stop the tape, except the Porsche messed me because I'm trying to shift and smoke, Yeah. But I did it all, Yeah. Did that help much, George? I mean, you asked a big question there,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it did, but if anyone else has any ideas, I'd be interested.
So what was your question? You're trying to implement and you're trying to come up with a job description for the individual that's going to implement it, or you're implementing it?
No, I'm
an assistant to help you implement it.
Assistant to help me implement it. Is there a way of thinking strategically as to what exactly you want them to do in order to help you achieve certain goals?
I think that Reed said it perfectly, is be realistic. One of the best ways that I come up with the ideas of what it's going to take to accomplish something is to map it out with Post-it notes, where you'll put like one big idea, get a big wall, take some time, put one big idea, what you want to accomplish, and then all the other ideas that come into place is just put them in line where they come, so you can really map out the thinking on what it's going to take from where you're at to where you want to get. And as an idea comes, write it down and just put it up there and don't worry about it. Then step back and look at the big picture of all the little ideas that you had that are finally out on the wall, all right? And then be realistic with what your strengths and weaknesses are. Most of us really aren't realistic. Say, I can do everything. Well, then what do you need an assistant for? So once you've really identified what your strengths are in helping you accomplish this and your weaknesses are, then hire an individual that's going to help you strengthen your weaknesses and write a job description that come up with the ideal candidate. If I could hire somebody that would help me achieve this and strengthen my weaknesses, what would his ideal characteristics be? All right, then put those. That's why I like Post-its. Well, you do this, put that up there, put this, and then step back and say, wow, I got 5 different characteristics of an individual that's going to support my weaknesses. Does that kind of help or whatever?
Yes.
So you've got to really define, what is it you're looking for, And then what's the ideal candidate? And then let the ideas come, because you got them. You just got to sit back and let them come, write them down, step back and look. I mean, that's the way I do it.
One more little key is to turn a marketing machine on. You know how I created this whole information marketing thing in my kit and all? I sold 40 kits and I had to make one. Yeah. We sold leads. We have created so many leads. We were selling them in a household, associates, money store. I mean, we were out stripping. We did that because we couldn't do them all. You know, if you can turn a marketing machine on. A marketing machine solves more problems because you got to do something with the money or the volume or the business or something. And don't procrastinate. And I like to teach folks to swim by throwing them in the pool. Right. We don't discuss it. You know, like Bill Glazier. I mean, half the stuff he did, I didn't ask him. I just said, Bill, by the way, you know, and he suddenly read, why am I doing this? Am I your bitch? You know.
Ready, fire, aim instead of ready, aim, fire.
It's a style, but you have to realize also that aggravates folks. You know. You know, it's being respectful and it's being honorable and knowing what you're doing to the people around you, you know? And now, to wrap up this thing, typically I like to go from each person what you got from it and what you hope to take and go home with and this and that. But we're running late and we've had to really condense this, you know? But the biggest step here is to go home and decompress some. Don't think you can do everything, you know? And because, see, then you'll procrastinate and you'll put it off and you'll be confused and you won't do what you know you should. You'll beat yourself up. Just if you take one idea, the most vital thing is to launch something. Start the phones ringing, sell something. Even if you screw it up, you know? Start a marketing machine going and systematize that. At least if you have money, you can afford to hire the help, right? So I've enjoyed this thoroughly. I will never have anything in Miami in September again, you know? You know? Vegas, Vegas, do you know what? You want to have trouble finding a room and keeping people in one? Yeah. You know? Tell them to go ahead and just, go ahead and lose all your money at the tables to start with and then stay in the room, you know? But hey, thank you so much. Yeah, hey, yeah. You know? How lucky am I? You know, you just happen to have that help. But I've been lucky my whole life. You know, I'm the luckiest guy. So now we are going to take a 15-minute break, 10-minute, 10, and Brian, those folks who are Brian's members or bought Brian's stuff, Brian wants to meet with you. He has some stuff for you to share. And yeah, one quick question. For members of the group. Oh. I'm sorry. You just come around here real quick and they'll beat you up if it's not a good one.
This is only for brokers in Florida. I've got a guy that wants to originate loans in Florida, so if you're interested in him, I think he's here in Miami, between here and Fort Lauderdale. One of you gave me a card, but if there's anybody else, see me afterwards and I'll get his name and information to you.
Need a job badly, you know? One little tip. If they need a job badly, maybe there's something wrong. So, Brian, I told you that right, or what? What, was that correct?
I think we all really should give Reed and Ann a big round of applause. What a great job. What a phenomenal.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, progress. Thanks, guys.